Bryan Danielson has some choice words for WWE when discussing the company's counter-programming tactics against AEW. We have the ratings for Saturday's edition of AEW Collision. We've got more details on just when Bryan Danielson found out he was going to be a full-time member of the AEW Dynamite commentary booth and Tony Khan's rationale for putting the American Dragon behind the commentary desk. Bryan Danielson's also opened up on the possibility of taking over Ring of Honor. Plus, we've got more details on AJ Styles' cryptic workshoot promo that aired during the commercial break of Raw on Monday in this news update. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin talking about counter-programming. Of course, we've seen, particularly over the last several months, WWE's clear counter-programming tactics against All Elite Wrestling. Now, they have divided opinion online about the pros and cons of the strategy by WWE, but now we hear from former AEW and WWE World Champion Bryan Danielson. He's commented on WWE counter-programming against AEW, whether AEW poses a threat to WWE, his belief that Cody Rhodes wouldn't be in his current position without AEW's creation, nor would CM Punk have returned to pro wrestling, and much more. Now, Bryan Danielson, of course, as I mentioned, is only one of 4 people who can have the claim that they have held the WWE World Championship and the AEW World title. He can also say that he has headlined major events for both promotions and worked behind the scenes for both as well. Recently, WWE PLEs have often been held the same day as major AEW shows. The WWE NXT Great American Bash occurred the same day as AEW All In. WWE NXT Battleground happened concurrently with AEW Double or Nothing. WWE NXT Heatwave, counter-program Forbidden Door, and the upcoming WWE WrestlePalooza card, of course, will be held on the same night as AEW All Out, with AEW actually moving their pay-per-view earlier to the day to avoid going head-to-head with WWE. Now, in a recent interview, Bryan Danielson was asked how he feels about WWE's counter-programming tactics. Danielson gave a very specific yet realistic answer, saying that he doesn't believe it's because AEW is a threat to WWE, as they're still operating on 2 different playing fields. Here's what Danielson had to say.
There's this narrative online that WWE is trying to counter-program AEW. Right?
It's pretty obvious.
Seems like it looks like they're moving pay-per-views on the same dates as you guys. Yeah. Now, what's the reaction from the locker room backstage when they see that they're trying to be counter-programmed? Is it motivating, or how do the boys react? Boys and girls.
So I don't know, because I'm not there a ton, and nobody really talks to me about that.
Yeah.
I think of it and I wonder, right? Like, I'm just curious of like what the people who are making these decisions, what they're thinking, right? In the sense of like, oh, okay, this AEW thing, it's a real dangerous to our billion-dollar business.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be it. Because the one thing that I think is that AEW existing and being this challenger brand and being as successful as we've been has changed the landscape for wrestling for the wrestlers themselves.
Yeah.
So it's like wrestlers are being paid more now than ever, right? From a sports rights perspective, so for example, most major sports in the United States, the players get anywhere between 40 to 50% of the revenue. And WWE was paying their wrestlers nowhere close to that.
So independent contractors.
Yeah, because as independent contractors. And now keep in mind, they're still not paying anywhere close to that. But they do have to pay more, because if they don't, the talent's going to leave and go to AEW.
Yeah.
AEW does pay that 40 to 50% of their revenue to their wrestlers, despite making much less money. I mean, our TV rights deal was incredible, but we're still the challenger brand, catching up on however many years WWE's had.
It almost shows that they respect how big of a threat you guys are in the industry.
But it's interesting, because we're not at the point of being a threat. It's just a weird. It's one of the things that, like, people who really crave power and a lot of money play these weird games that I don't understand.
So then he's doing it for the sake of doing it, maybe.
Well, and I don't understand. It's like, okay, we're gonna run all the competitors that might be competitive with us out of this business. Why? It's good. It's good for the wrestlers. It's good for the wrestlers both in AEW and in WWE. It's been good for them. Like, okay, if AEW wouldn't have started, would Cody Rhodes be where he is right now?
Very true.
No.
Yeah.
They have a megastar because AEW exists, right? Would CM Punk ever have come back? Probably not.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's all those things. So I would be really interested, and I'm not saying this in the sense of like, oh, those evil people, because I like, so when you think of corporations are not people, right? In the United States, I don't know if it's like this in Australia.
Probably the same.
But corporations have been determined as like legally as people. They have the same rights as people, and it's just like, wait, what? But they're not people, right? So these corporations make these decisions. But like the people in WWE, like a lot of the people I know are great people, right? And so it's like, I'd be interested to know, okay, what's the decision-making process in this? Why, but, it's not my monkeys, not my circus, whatever the line is for that, you know what I mean? And so like sometimes I think about it and I'm like, oh, and then I think a little bit too much about it. I'm like, oh, not my monkeys, not my circus.
Okay, yeah, stay out of it, yeah.
Now let's talk about the ratings for Saturday's episode of AEW Collision on TNT. It was not a good week at all for AEW Collision as far as the ratings went on August 30. Not only was the show down, going against college football and the works, but the show actually drew its lowest total viewership in the history of the show, while tying its record for the lowest 18-49 rating as well. With even more football on the horizon, it didn't seem like things would get much better for Collision, which will make this past weekend's numbers a welcome reprieve for Tony Khan and co. WrestleNomics reports that the September 6th edition of Collision drew 300,000 total viewers and a 0.07 in the all-too-important 18-49 demo. Given the lows of the previous week, these numbers represented a huge jump, with total viewership rising 54% from 195,000, while the 18-49 was up a whopping 75% from a 0.04. Total viewership was more in line with the 4-week average, up 1% from 296,000 total viewers, while the 18-49 demo was up 17% from a 0.06. Now, in terms of the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics. Shout out to them, and as always, be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. Collision also improved its standing in the top 10 in the cable for the evening, placing 6th overall. Quarter-hour showed that Collision got a big boost in quarter-hour 3, where it drew a show-high 112,000 0.08 in 1849, and quarter-hour 5, where it drew 332,000 viewers. The show also benefited greatly from its overrun, which drew a show-high of 351,000 viewers, who caught the end of Konosuke Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe. Now, those who did see that also saw the return of MJF, thought to be on his honeymoon. You can see him right there on the floor. He cost Briscoe the match, much to Takeshita's annoyance. The rest of the event, which owner Tony Khan later referred to as perfect from top to bottom, featured Jon Moxley pulling out a victory over Daniel Garcia in the opener, FTR defeating Adam Priest and Tommy Billington, and AEW Women's World Champion Toni Storm leading Mina Shirakawa, Chris Statlander, and Harley Cameron to victory over Megan Bayne and the Triangle of Madness. So certainly interesting numbers there on AEW Collision this past Saturday. Now, speaking of Tony Khan, he spoke about how he thought Collision was perfect, and he's made some more changes to AEW Dynamite, with Bryan Danielson transitioning to a full-time commentator on the show. It was recently announced that beginning September 10th, that being today, Bryan Danielson will join the AEW Dynamite commentary team on a full-time basis. Danielson is one of the legendary competitors of his era and recently concluded his full-time wrestling career at AEW's Wrestle Dream back in 2024. Speaking on the Battleground podcast, AEW President and CEO Tony Khan discussed his decision to assign Danielson to this new role, praising his inside knowledge and noting that fans want to see and hear from him on AEW television. Here's what Tony Khan had to say.
Another quick question. This has got a lot of us nerds very, very happy. The announcement, Bryan Danielson will be a permanent addition to the announcing table moving forward. What brought you to that decision? Was that something you'd been planning in the background, or was it just kind of a natural flow and it just happened? Like, could you kind of bring us up to speed on that decision?
Sure. As we were preparing for Forbidden Door, I thought Bryan would be fantastic on the commentary team for that show. Knowing the background he has, knowing his insights into pro wrestling and how prepared he is and how much research he does on pro wrestling worldwide, knowing the stars competing at Forbidden Door, coming from different promotions, stars from Mexico and Japan and traveling from all over the world to compete at that show in London. Also, I think Bryan's a great star and people want to see Bryan Danielson on television and hear Bryan Danielson on television. And thankfully, he's got very intelligent, insightful things to say when he does talk. So I really thought Bryan would be a great part of the commentary team. And he did a fantastic job on Forbidden Door. So I had talked to him maybe after his promotional tour of Australia was complete about Bryan joining us on Wednesday, and it worked out perfect. And he'll be joining us tomorrow night on Wednesday Night Dynamite as a host, a commentator, providing his really, really valuable insights into pro wrestling. I think it's great anytime we're able to bring on Bryan Danielson to do anything in AEW, but especially to provide very, very intelligent, insightful commentary on pro wrestling. That's a great thing in AEW that we have now with Bryan Danielson as a host on Wednesday Night Dynamite starting tomorrow.
Now, when it comes to when Danielson found out, this is where it gets quite interesting. While speaking to Pario magazine in a new interview, Bryan was asked about his new role on commentary for AEW. Danielson would note that he actually found out about his new role at the same time as fans. He said, quote, "So how it came about is, it had been mentioned, but then I found out the same way everybody else found out on Sunday. I got a text message like, 'Hey man, so you're going to be at Dynamite this week, right?' And I was like, 'Huh?' And then they sent me the tweet that Tony Khan sent out. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess so. Tony and I had talked about the possibility of it, but I didn't know it was a real thing until Sunday. It was actually Saturday in the United States, but Sunday here in Australia." Now, Danielson continued discussing his commentary philosophy. He said, quote, "My philosophy from a commentary standpoint is to do whatever I can to help move the story along, to help things seem more important, to help ferry the viewer along with the stories that we're trying to tell and to try to make things happen, because often pro wrestling can be a little bit wild and weird and sometimes a little bit nonsensical. Then it makes sense out of the fun, right? That's like why this is happening. Here, what is this feels like? Here's this, that, and the other. But to be honest, I'm going to have to develop a stronger philosophy of commentary. Anything I do, I try to be my very best. I worked at McDonald's when I was 15 years old, and I literally aspired to be the best burger flipper while I was doing it. I want to be the best I can possibly be at flipping these burgers, right? I want to have it always ready so you know what they need. When they need a cheeseburger, they've got no meat in the cheeseburger, right? So it's like, okay, now if I'm going to be on commentary full time or however long it is, I want to make it and be the best I can to help make it the show as good I can from my perspective. So Danielson found out at the same time as everybody else, it seems. Now, this is quite interesting when it comes to Bryan Danielson. He was asked about the possibility of taking over maybe booking of Ring of Honor. Now, Bryan Danielson answers if he'd like to take over the running of ROH. While Danielson has made a name for himself in several promotions around the world throughout his lengthy in-ring career, he was one of the top names in Ring of Honor for quite some time, a legacy Danielson holds dear to his heart. Throughout his run with the promotion, he would face off with some legendary talent, but now he has addressed the idea of possibly managing the promotion itself. While speaking to Pario magazine in the same interview, Danielson was asked if he would like to take over running Ring of Honor from Tony Khan, admitting that while it interests him, he doesn't think Tony Khan has interest in that. Quote, "Yeah, I mean, that would interest me. I don't think Tony has interest in that. I think Tony does a really good job of juggling all these plates. He does a pretty great job with it. I'm always open to doing whatever the company needs. So yeah, I would love to do it. I think Ring of Honor is a really cool product, especially for our younger talent, to be able to get them exposure. I don't know if you watched the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view. It was incredible. Lee Moriarty against Exula. I can't pronounce that guy's name very well, but it was an incredible match. Bandito versus Hechicero was unbelievable. Then you have had Athena, who's doing an incredible job against Mina Shirakawa. So you had these three incredible matches on this pay-per-view. When you see the talent that you've got to work with, everybody's perspective is a little different. Everybody has their little bit of difference where you see something and be like, oh, okay, I would do something a little bit different here. But I wouldn't say that my version of it would be any better than Tony Khan's version. I'm not here angling for a job to take over Ring of Honor. So would you like to see Bryan Danielson take over ROH? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, people are still talking about AJ Styles and that promo he cut during a commercial break on Raw this past Monday on Netflix. Now, ahead of his match with El Grande Americano on Raw, AJ Styles cut a heated promo during a commercial break in front of the live audience in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which left many fans questioning if the Phenomenal One had gone off script. Styles claimed that he has no friends, watching his back for the first time in his career, and that somebody doesn't want me here, indicating that there have been ongoing frustrations between him and the company. However, WWE has since uploaded Styles' pipe bomb to their YouTube channel, and according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, the promotion has created a storyline surrounding Styles' contract expiring early next year. Quote, "They're doing a Twitter social media storyline," Meltzer said. The word is out. His contract is up in February, and whatever the situation is, obviously it happened on television. It's not a shoot, okay, but they're doing some kind of storyline. It was during the commercial, so now people are going like it wasn't scripted. So I don't know what the angle is, but it's a unique angle that they are working on. Something to do with his contract being up. I don't know how much longer he's going to go, because when he signed a new deal, it was a short-term deal. So that tells me that when he signed the deal, he wasn't planning on wrestling much longer. So it may be a way to call attention to farewell stuff. Now, of course, 3 days ago, as we covered here on the channel, Styles posted a photo of an hourglass to social media to insinuate that time is running out for him in the ring. Additionally, Styles promised earlier this year that he will be retiring from professional wrestling when he turns 50 years old, but whether he finishes his career in WWE or elsewhere remains to be seen. Now, interestingly, this quote from Josh Alexander has had a lot of people talking on social media about why Josh Alexander chose to sign with AEW over WWE. Now, at the time, Josh Alexander was in TNA Wrestling. The brand has just established its working relationship with WWE, and many TNA stars were transitioning into WWE. Still, when it was time for Alexander to pick a new home promotion, he signed with All Elite Wrestling. Now, he is shedding light on that decision. Speaking with Justin Barrasso of Undisputed, Alexander explained that money and schedule weren't significant factors in his choice. He says that, unlike many wrestlers, he didn't dream of wrestling at WrestleMania. He decided to sign with All Elite Wrestling because that's where he wanted to be. Quote, "I didn't grow up dreaming of wrestling at WrestleMania," said Alexander. "I've worked with so many people in AEW that are now in high-profile positions, and I met Tony during the COVID days. I vibed with him, and I think he's a really good human being. He's someone that actually cares about his talent and treats them like human beings. I have watched AEW religiously since its inception. A lot of it is that my dream matches are in AEW. I've been chasing Kenny Omega for 10 years. If I'm going to wrestle him, it's going to be in AEW." Now, a bit of an update on the health of WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase here. Ted DiBiase suffered a fall at an airport that left him a little banged up. He said, quote, "It wasn't a bump that I intended to take. I was hustling through the Atlanta airport, and as I was getting to the gate, there were some kids there, and they were playing around, kids being kids. I'm walking, and I can't describe how it happened, but one of them fell right in front of me, and I had no choice. I did a face bump and went down. My glasses were a little affected by it. I went down hard, buddy. The gate attendant came to me. I got a little bit of a black eye. The rest of it is my right side. I had it checked out. I didn't break anything, but I have had a broken rib before. Even though there is nothing broken, I got a really good bruise. It's so sore." Now, DiBiase showed off his black eye and noted his rib pain when pressed against him on his podcast. Of course, we wish him the best as he recovers. And finally, speaking of health updates, Kurt Angle has provided one of his own. In 1996, Kurt Angle won an Olympic gold medal despite having a broken freaking neck. In 1999, he had shifted over to a career in professional wrestling, and over time, the wear and tear on his body continued to accumulate. Now, more than 6 years after his retirement match, he has offered an update on his health. Kurt Angle was the latest guest on 6 Feet Under with The Undertaker and Michelle McCool. During the podcast, he provided an update saying he feels good overall. However, he mentioned that his neck has naturally fused and there are no discs left between his vertebrae. He discovered this after going in for an MRI intended for a potential disc replacement surgery, where a doctor told him he no longer has any discs in his neck. He also mentioned that he has trouble with motor skills and currently has no feeling in either of his pinky fingers. Quote, I feel pretty good. The only thing that bothers me now is that I have motor skill problems. My hands shake because of my neck and there's nothing I can do about it. My neck naturally fused together. I think I already told you that. I don't have any more discs between my vertebrae. It's just all fused together. It's all bone. I went to have a disc replacement surgery and the doctor took an MRI. He said, you don't have any discs. You're done. He said, it's all fused together. It's all bone. So I have a hard time. I get pain going down my arms and I can't feel either one of my pinkies. They're gone. So I just have a lot of functional problems, you know. It just sucks that there's nothing I can do. I tried stem cell. I tried disc replacement. There's just nothing. I have to deal with it. So, of course, we wish Kurt Angle the best. And if we get any more updates on his health, we'll also let you know in a future video. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.